Hello and welcome to First Issues. I'm the Archivist, and these are the first issues released in the week of April 9th, 2014. Today's random collectible oddity is my Green Lantern skeleton animal Chunky. Yeah, I know it's weird like that, but anyways, this little fellow was given to me by my brother for my somethingth birthday or Christmas. I can't remember. Point is, he gave it to me, and it's been something I've held on to for a really long time, and you may have even seen it hanging around in a couple of my earlier videos. It's been a busy week, so let's just zip up the Marvel hoodie right now. First on the list, and the one I'm looking forward to most, is All New Ultimates #1, written by Michelle Fifth with art by Amilcar Pinna. This was my most anticipated release, because any book with Cloak and Dagger in it, even if it is set up in the Ultimate Universe, is downright golden. Yes, that was my big draw to this. But I stayed for the Spider-Woman makeover, or the kitty having issues, or really, I stayed because this was a pretty decent book, and a fun roster, and the interpersonal stuff really works for me because of the age that these characters are at. It's not, late 20-somethings doing all this. It's, teens to, I think, earliest might be 20s, but I doubt it. I really did forget about how much fun teen heroes can be. No, Scarlet Spider doesn't count. He's like 30. Wait, would he be 30? Okay, I'm getting off that topic real quick. So this book, I say it's definitely a read. While for me it's a solid buy, it may not have enough meat for a universal buy. At the very least, I'd say give it a read and then wait for the trade. But for me, it was a solid buy. The art's great, the writing's great. I'm babbling at this point. So next we have, oh god, All New Doop #1 by Peter Milligan and art by David LaFuente. Oh god, Doop is self-aware. Okay, so this is basically showing that Doop is a marginal character, insofar as that he's the reason that everything is going right. He hops through time to get from point to point where he's needed, knowing what he must do. Yes, I get they probably were saying, oh, no one cares about him because the reader's not reading about him, but no, that was actually kind of fine. I didn't hate it, especially since he couldn't officially speak. Yes, there was Doop speak, because they're doing different lettering and kind of. It was neat, okay? I'll just say that. It was neat. But you know what? The ending, he rips off his old self away so he can speak English to propose to Kitty Pryde. The hell? I'm really, really hoping that this was explained in Wolverine and the X-Men. So verdict is I really don't know about this one. I don't hate this comic. I don't love this comic. It has me feeling completely neutral. As usual, as I hope you do, make up your own mind on whether or not to give this a read, but I really don't know where I stand on it. I am grape nuts right now. I will never use that as a saying again, I swear. Let's move right along to Nightcrawler #1, written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Todd Nauck. Oh, Chris Claremont, you're the god of the X titles, and you know how to tell a decent story. This is a direct follow-up to Amazing X-Men, where Nightcrawler comes back from the dead, and he's adjusting to all that's changed since then. There's only two problems I have with this book. The biggest is that it shouldn't really be that odd to Nightcrawler that Psyche has his own team of X-Men separate from the whole Jean Grey School of Higher Learning thing, since Scott was already alienating himself before Second Coming when Kurt died. But that's a minor thing. Secondly, and again, this has nothing to deal with Nightcrawler, but What the hell is up with Beast's art? He's not cat-like. He's not the mutated Beast-like. It's like he's in a full-body wig, and I'm not even sure how the hell that's artistically possible to convey. Either way, this is definitely a book to buy if you like the Fuzzy Blue Elf, or enjoyed Amazing X-Men, or if you like the X-Men Legacy feel, because there's really a nice feel to that. Otherwise, read it on the shelf. Finally, we have Iron Fist, The Living Weapon, #1, by Kyle Andrews. What the hell happened to Iron Fist? Did Immortal Iron Fist end with the revelation that Danny Rand needs to be on mood stabilizers? Because he doesn't seem at all like the character I know. And this isn't a, oh, let's take the character in a new direction. Because to take the character in a new direction, you either need to change who's calling themselves Iron Fist, or you need to show the direction they were at before hitting that 90-degree mark. He acts as though everyone he's ever known has been gunned down in front of him. Is he just sad because Heroes for Hire doesn't have its own book anymore? The plot itself is kind of standard by this point. He gets attacked and must go to Kunlun for some reason or another. At most, I would say give this a read. But otherwise, I think this may be best for the trade, or you might like it if you aren't jarred by how out of character it is. Well, let's take away the hoodie and on to the indies. With Aspen Comics, Lola XOXO, #1 of 6 by Sia Lola XOXO, maybe it's pronounced Lola Hugs and Kisses if anyone remembers what the X's and the O's stand for. But anyways, this is pretty peculiar. As a rule, I don't go and try and find synopses or reviews on the comics I'm going to do, because I really want them to speak for themselves. That's why I still have issues with Avengers Undercover's title. So I took a gander at this cover, and it had a westerny look. Well, apparently it's a post-apocalyptic western. But it's got a fun enough setting, and Lola, the lead girl, isn't annoying or generic action. The current generic action girl, if that makes any sense. Well, anyways, she feels her parents survived the nukes that went off, and went to find them, but not really being Clint Eastwood about it. She's being naive about it. But I definitely say that it's worth a buy, and Aspen Comics is really good when it comes to pricing, so don't worry about that. Next, we explode with Dynamite Entertainment's Flash Gordon #1, written by Jeff Parker and illustrated by Evan Shaner. Apparently, this continues Flash and Friends' adventure from King's Watch, but it may be a bit confusing as to why Flash is now pearl hopping, but that doesn't bother me from enjoying a fun adventure book. Jeff Parker does a wonderful job at giving an adventurous romp through the setting, including introducing us to a very epic Ming, the Merciless. So my verdict is definitely give this a buy. If you're not too sure, read it, obviously. I don't want to be blamed for too much. Our next meal is the Image Course with Shudder #1. I'm really on the fence about this one. There's a lot of good in this book, but there's also some bad in both the character and in the form of not a lot of setup. We get set up for who the character is for the most part. She's the daughter of an adventurer who traveled around with him and is now what I assume to be a photographer for a real estate company. I don't know. But she also used to write books. And, well, okay, my problem is that she really has neutral dialogue that doesn't really give me any beat on who she is as a person. Sure, she knows stuff, and she comes off so much like a generic female lead now. She knows, she has all this intel. She's snarky-ish. but there's nothing that goes, okay, this is why we should really like this character. Of course, the neon ninjas and Robot Pringles Man at the very end really gets me intrigued. So I'll say read it. It's gotten some praise, so maybe I'm being too critical on it, but finally, let's check out Oni Press and their release of Archer Cove and the Thousand Natural Shocks #1 by Jamie S. Rich and Dan Christensen. This is a book about a stage magician, but I'm thinking a really, really good one since he hypnotizes a cat to speak English. Yeah, that's a thing. But anyways, the art style is a very polished grayscale that gives a bit of charming age about it. Honestly, there is zero reason to not pick this book up. It's a buck on Comixology, and the second one is already up and ready to read, so go get them both. Now time to put on the DC hoodie. As per usual, DC gets the short end of the first issue stick, but also as usual, it's a first issue worth reading. This is Batman Eternal #1, story by Scott Snyder, written by James Tynion IV, and art by Jason Fabok. This is a weekly series, so it's going to have a faster paced story. And I'll be reading each issue as it comes out, giving my thoughts as well as others on the Archivist Facebook page, with other comics that I read outside of first issues. Okay, enough of the self-plug. Batman Eternal #1. I liked it. It's only the start, obviously, but it actually gives us a great motivator to keep reading involving Jim Gordon, which I'm not going to spoil. The art works very well, and the first page actually is the start of the end, with Bruce Wayne in a great panel with a bat symbol carved into his chest, tied to a shattered bat signal. And hey, that's the first page, so it's not like I'm actually spoiling anything. But seriously, I think this is a series as a whole that will be worth a buy and trade, but right now, start with buying the first issues. And with that said, let's dig into the Flashback Firsty of this week. I don't even have to take off my hoodie. As seems to be the norm, this is a review for Jorge Calvo, who guessed last week's song was in fact All of Me by John Legend. Straight from the page of The Sandman, this is the February release of Vertigo's The Dead Boy Detectives #1 by Toby Litt, Mark Buchanan, and Gary Erskine. True, this is actually a release that if I had my new format back when I started, I think I would be safe in covering this one, but I'm actually really glad I got to check it out now. So the two main characters, Charles and Edwin, first popped up in the highly praised series The Sandman, then Gaiman's Children Crusade, not to be confused with the Avengers Children Crusade, and then there's the Books of Magic series and a Death graphic novel. So really, if Vertigo was the Tower of London, they'd be the two princes, always around and just, yeah. And this story actually works out really well. It sets up what I think may actually be a secure ending for the characters as they have to go back to their school to protect a girl. The school was actually where both of them died, so, it's one of those things. I think it's a great read, and most definitely worth a buy, especially, and this is especially, if you're a fan of the whole Vertigo universe as a whole. I know I had to cut this one a smidge short, but I've got a really busy week going, and it's not slowing down, so with all that, I'm the Archivist, and this was First Issues. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out my content on Facebook, The Archivist, because I post pictures and chats and everything like that, and news and just other things. So, yeah, this is me signing out.